Let me tell you something most people never want to hear. Life is not going to ask you how you feel when it hits you in the mouth. Life is not going to pause because you're emotional, frustrated, angry, tired, or overwhelmed. Life is going to keep moving, and if you want to win, you've got to learn how to control your damn emotions. Your emotions don't get to dictate your decisions, your principles do. Most people live their entire lives reacting to whatever they feel in the moment. They get angry, and suddenly the whole day is ruined. They get discouraged, and suddenly the dream no longer matters. They get afraid, and suddenly every opportunity looks like a threat. But the truth is simple. If your emotions sit in the driver's seat of your life, they will always drive you somewhere you never intended to go. Feelings are temporary, unstable, unpredictable. Principles are the exact opposite. They're rooted, they're anchored. They don't shift with weather, mood, or inconvenience. And until a person decides that their principles outweigh their emotions, their life will always feel out of control. There will always be moments when your emotions are loud. Moments when frustration rises before logic does. Moments when fear arrives before courage steps in. But those are the exact moments that determine your character. Anyone can make good decisions when they feel good. Anyone can act with discipline when the environment is comfortable. But the real test is when everything in you wants to quit, wants to react, wants to lash out, wants to walk away, and you still choose to stay consistent with who you promised yourself you would be. That is where strength is forged. Think about how many people have destroyed relationships because they reacted in anger rather than responding with intention. Think about how many opportunities were lost because someone let fear talk louder than their purpose. Think about how many dreams were abandoned because discouragement convinced them it wasn't worth it. Emotions are powerful, yes, but they are also deceivers. They magnify the moment and blind you to the bigger picture. Principles bring you back to the truth. Principles remind you of what mattered before the emotion showed up. They keep your decisions anchored in commitment instead of chaos. When you operate from principles, you don't get moved by every wave. You don't get thrown off course by every setback. You don't crumble just because the day didn't go your way. Principles give you a standard higher than mood. They give you a code to live by. They remind you that long-term integrity matters more than short-term comfort. When emotions say, "I'm tired," principles say, "But you made a commitment." When emotions say, "I'm angry," principles say, "But act with character." When emotions say, "I'm scared," principles say, "But you've come too far to let fear lead." And when emotions say, "I don't feel like it," principles say, "Feelings are not the boss of you." The world celebrates emotional expression, but it rarely teaches emotional discipline. It encourages people to follow your heart, not realizing the heart can be influenced by hurt, ego, insecurity, and past pain. But when your principles guide you, you're not ignoring your emotions, you're mastering them. You're acknowledging what you feel, but choosing what aligns with your values. You're understanding the emotion, but refusing to hand it your future. You're allowing the feeling to pass instead of allowing it to decide. Some days you're going to wake up motivated. Some days you won't. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Some days you'll feel like everything is falling apart. But principles don't fluctuate with emotion. They don't disappear because the day is hard. They don't shrink because fear walks in. They stand firm, giving you something to hold on to when your emotions are pulling you in every direction. Life will present you with situations designed to trigger you. People will test your patience. Circumstances will challenge your faith. Delays will stretch your tolerance. But if every decision you make is based on what you feel in that exact moment, you will constantly sabotage your own progress. Growth requires choosing what's right over what feels good. Maturity requires choosing consistency over comfort. Strength requires choosing responsibility over reaction. You can't reach your full potential by being emotionally led. You reach it by being principle-led, by making decisions from purpose, not impulses, by showing up based on commitment, not convenience, by acting from character, not chaos. When you let principles dictate your choices, you take control of your life. When emotions lead, you lose direction. But when principles lead, you move with clarity, with discipline, with intention. And that is how real transformation begins. Pressure doesn't break you. It reveals what's already inside you. Most people spend their lives avoiding pressure, avoiding challenges, avoiding moments that stretch their limits. They think if they can just keep life comfortable, smooth, predictable, then they can stay strong. But strength is not built in comfort. Strength is exposed in conflict. Pressure doesn't show you your weakness, it shows you the truth. It uncovers the parts of you that have been hiding behind convenience. It brings to the surface the habits, the beliefs, the discipline and the character you've been practicing all along, whether you realized it or not. Pressure has a way of stripping away the excuses and revealing exactly who you are when the world isn't watching. When everything is going well, it's easy to smile, easy to stay calm, easy to talk about faith, discipline, and resilience. But none of that means anything until life squeezes you. And when pressure squeezes you, whatever you've been carrying inside will come out. If you've been feeding doubt, you'll collapse. If you've been feeding discipline, you'll rise. If you've been feeding excuses, you'll retreat. If you've been feeding commitment, you'll stand tall. Pressure doesn't create your foundation. It exposes it. It reveals whether you built your character on sand or stone. Think about it. Every champion, every leader, every great person you admire was shaped under pressure. Not when they were comfortable, not when they were applauded, not when they were praised, but when they were tested. Pressure reveals your preparation. It shows whether you've been training or pretending. It shows whether you practice consistency or only show up when it's easy. When the lights get bright, when the stakes get high, when the moment is heavy, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your training. And pressure shows what that training really looks like. Pressure has a purpose. It's not designed to crush you, but to clarify you. When you're pushed to your limits, you discover your priorities. You learn what matters and what doesn't. You learn who you are and who you're not. You learn what you're willing to fight for. You learn what you're willing to let go. Pressure forces you to eliminate the unnecessary and hold on to the essential. It teaches you that comfort is a luxury, but character is survival. Some people break under pressure because they never built anything inside them to withstand it. Their identity was based on praise, so the moment criticism showed up, they shattered. Their confidence was based on results, so the moment failure arrived, they collapsed. Their peace was based on circumstances, so when life shifted, they lost themselves. But others stand firm because they built their identity on purpose, not popularity. They built their confidence on preparation, not perfection. They built their peace on principles, not conditions. Pressure only magnifies what was already true about them. Pressure also reveals your hunger. It shows whether you really want what you say you want. Everybody talks big until the process demands pain. Everybody dreams loud until the sacrifice shows up. Everybody claims they're committed until the test arrives. Pressure separates the interested from the invested. It forces you to choose between what you want now and what you want most. It exposes whether your goals were desires or decisions. And here's the truth most people never understand. Pressure is not the enemy. Pressure is the invitation. It invites you to grow, to stretch, to evolve, to tap into levels of strength you didn't even know existed. Every time pressure rises, it's a chance to prove to yourself that you're not who you used to be. It's a moment to demonstrate your growth, your maturity, your discipline, your resilience. Pressure gives you the opportunity to meet the strongest version of yourself. Life will never be free of pressure. There will always be deadlines, expectations, disappointments, responsibilities, setbacks, and challenges. You don't get to avoid pressure, but you do get to decide how you face it. You can let it crush you, or you can let it carve you. You can let it discourage you, or you can let it define you. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. Because pressure doesn't show you the worst of you, it shows you the real you. And once you know what's inside, you can refine it, strengthen it, and turn it into something unstoppable. Respond. Don't react. Your reaction can cost you your future. Most people don't realize how one moment of emotional impulse can undo years of discipline, effort, and progress. A reaction is instant, unfiltered, raw. It comes from a place of emotion, not intention. It's driven by anger, fear, pride, ego, insecurity, or frustration. But a response is different. A response is controlled, thoughtful, measured. It comes from a place of clarity, not chaos. And the difference between reacting and responding often becomes the difference between growth and regret, between opportunity and loss, between success and setback. When you react, you give away your power. You let the situation control you. You let the person who triggered you dictate your next move. You let the emotion of the moment override the purpose of your future. A reaction might feel good for a second, but it can cost you relationships, trust, reputation, and opportunities that you spent years building. People don't usually regret the thoughts they held back. They regret the words they said too quickly. They regret the decisions they made too emotionally. They regret the actions they took without thinking. A future can be destroyed in 5 seconds of anger, but it can be rebuilt through 5 seconds of patience. Responding means you pause, you breathe, you analyze, you step back from the heat of the moment. Responding doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Emotional maturity isn't the absence of feeling, it's the ability to feel everything without allowing it to control your choices. Strong people aren't the ones who never get triggered. Strong people are the ones who know how to control themselves when they are triggered. They understand that the moment they lose control, they lose the advantage, they lose direction, they lose alignment with their purpose. Life will test you. People will test you. Circumstances will push you, not to break you, but to reveal whether you've learned how to master yourself. There will be times when someone disrespects you and everything in you wants to fire back. There will be moments when frustration rises so fast that your entire body reacts before your mind catches up. There will be situations where fear or panic makes you want to make a desperate move just to feel safe again. But reacting from that place only multiplies the damage. A reaction is like throwing gasoline on the fire. A response is like stepping back and deciding how to put out the flames. Think about how many lives have been changed because someone reacted instead of responded. People have been fired not because they were unqualified, but because they reacted emotionally in the wrong moment. Relationships have ended not because there wasn't love, but because reactions became louder than communication. Friendships have been lost because pride reacted faster than humility could respond. Opportunities have been missed because fear reacted before courage had a chance to show up. When you react, you act out of the smallest version of yourself. When you respond, you act from the strongest version of yourself. Responding requires discipline. It requires emotional intelligence. It requires the humility to pause and the patience to think. It requires choosing your future over your feelings. It means understanding that not every emotion deserves a voice, not every thought deserves action, and not every moment deserves a reaction. The goal is not to stop feeling. The goal is to stop letting every feeling lead you. Because your emotions can inform you, but they should never control you. When you respond, you protect your future, you protect your peace, you protect your relationships, you protect your momentum. A response gives you time to align with your values instead of being pulled by your impulses. It gives you the space to choose what kind of person you want to be instead of becoming whatever the moment tries to turn you into. Responding means you understand that one action can echo for years, and you refuse to let one emotional moment rewrite your entire story. Growth shows up in the pause. Strength shows up in the silence between feeling and action. Wisdom shows up when you choose calm over chaos. And success shows up when you learn how to stand still inside yourself, even when everything around you is trying to provoke you. Respond, don't react. Because your reaction might feel good right now, but your response is what will protect your future. Your feelings are real, but they're not always right. Stay anchored in purpose. This is one of the hardest lessons to learn in life. Understanding that what you feel in a moment is valid, but it doesn't automatically reflect truth, reality, or the direction you're meant to go. Feelings rise fast, hit hard, and fade slowly. They can cloud your judgment, distort your perspective, and pull you away from what you know you should be doing. If you allow feelings to become your compass, you'll find yourself wandering, drifting, losing sight of your purpose every time life gets uncomfortable. And purpose is too important to be surrendered to the temporary storms of emotion. Your feelings can convince you that you're not good enough when you're exactly where you need to be. They can tell you that you're failing when you're actually growing. They can tell you to walk away when staying is what builds your character. They can tell you something is impossible simply because it feels difficult. Feelings can trick you into believing that the moment defines the mission, when the mission was never built on moments, it was built on commitment. That's why you need something stronger than feelings guiding your steps. That's where purpose comes in. Purpose is the anchor that keeps you steady when waves of emotion try to toss you around. There will be days when you wake up discouraged, days when doubt sits on your chest like a weight, days when anxiety whispers lies into your mind, days when fear paints worst-case scenarios in your imagination, days when you feel lost, confused, frustrated, unmotivated, or overwhelmed. Those feelings are real, and ignoring them doesn't make you strong, it makes you numb. Strength is not pretending you don't feel. Strength is feeling everything and still choosing your purpose anyway. It's recognizing that emotions are part of your humanity, but purpose is part of your destiny. When you stay anchored in purpose, you don't make decisions based on temporary moods. You make decisions based on long-term vision. You don't quit just because you're tired. You don't walk away just because it's hard. You don't stop believing just because the progress is slow. You don't lose hope just because fear shows up. Purpose gives you something solid to hold on to when your feelings try to pull you in 100 different directions. It reminds you why you started. It reminds you what you're fighting for. It reminds you what's on the line if you give in to temporary emotions. Feelings often speak loudly, but purpose speaks truth. Feelings tell you this is too much. Purpose says you're stronger than you think. Feelings say you can't handle this. Purpose says you were built for this. Feelings say give up. Purpose says grow up. Feelings say take the easy route. Purpose says take the meaningful one. When you let your emotions lead, you live a life of reaction. When you let purpose lead, you live a life of intention. Your purpose doesn't disappear when you feel low. It doesn't shrink because you're scared. It doesn't vanish because you failed. It doesn't weaken because you had a bad day. Purpose is steady. Purpose is consistent. Purpose is bigger than your emotional weather. And when you stay anchored in it, you can endure storms without drifting away from who you are becoming. Some people never reach their potential because they keep making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. They walk away from opportunities because they didn't feel ready. They break relationships because they felt offended rather than communicating with maturity. They quit dreams because fear made them question their path. They stop growing because discomfort made them step back instead of forward. When feelings rule, progress dies. But when purpose takes the lead, even the hardest days become stepping stones. Staying anchored in purpose doesn't mean you'll always feel confident or fearless. It means you show up even when you don't. It means you choose discipline over impulse. It means you prioritize truth over emotion. It means you keep moving even when your feelings are trying to drag you backwards. Purpose gives your pain meaning. It turns confusion into clarity. It turns frustration into fuel. It turns fear into focus. And it turns ordinary days into part of a greater story. Your feelings matter, they just don't get to be the final voice. You can acknowledge them without obeying them. You can feel fear without living in fear. You can feel doubt without acting out of doubt. You can feel unmotivated without becoming uncommitted. You can feel discouraged without losing direction. When you stay anchored in purpose, you stand firm even when your feelings try to shake you. And that's where true strength, true growth, and true transformation begin. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you show up. Life is unpredictable, unfair, messy, and full of moments you never asked for. You don't get to choose the storms that hit your life, the people who disappoint you, the setbacks that slow you down, the failures that shake your confidence, or the moments that break your heart. You don't control timing. You don't control outcomes. You don't control circumstances. You don't control the behavior of others. But you do control something far more powerful: the attitude, effort, character, and presence you bring into every single moment. Most people spend their energy trying to manage everything outside of them. They try to control how people treat them, how situations unfold, how plans work out, how life rewards them. But that mindset creates frustration because the world doesn't bend to your expectations. Life will throw what it throws. People will do what they do. Circumstances will shift whether you're ready or not. The real power comes from understanding that while you can't choose what shows up at your door, you can choose what you bring to the door. You decide whether you show up with bitterness or resilience. You decide whether you show up with excuses or effort. You decide whether you show up with fear or courage. You decide whether you show up defeated or determined. There's a moment in every challenge when you have to separate what you wish would happen from what you're actually facing. You don't control the adversity, but you control your response. You don't control the loss, but you control the lesson you take from it. You don't control the pressure, but you control whether you let it crush you or carve you. You don't control the speed of your journey, but you control whether you quit walking. That choice, how you show up, shapes your identity far more than the circumstances ever could. When life hits you hard, your instinct might be to shut down, complain, withdraw, or let the emotion of the moment dictate your behavior. But growth requires you to show up even when you're hurting. Strength requires you to show up even when you're scared. Maturity requires you to show up even when you don't feel like it. Champions aren't people who only show up when conditions are perfect. They're the ones who show up regardless of conditions. They keep pushing when it's inconvenient. They stay committed when it's uncomfortable. They hold their character when their environment is chaotic. How you show up reveals what you value. If you value comfort, you'll fold when things get tough. If you value ego, you'll react when someone challenges you. If you value excuses, you'll retreat at the first sign of difficulty. But if you value purpose, you'll step forward even when everything in you wants to step back. If you value integrity, you'll respond with character even when disrespected. If you value growth, you'll treat every setback as preparation. Showing up isn't about being perfect, it's about being intentional. It's about choosing who you want to be in the middle of what you cannot control. There will be moments when your environment feels bigger than you, when the problem feels heavier than your strength, when the outcome feels uncertain, when the path feels unclear. But showing up with the right mindset changes everything. When you show up with patience, you think clearly. When you show up with gratitude, you find perspective. When you show up with determination, you discover solutions you didn't see before. When you show up with faith, you stop letting fear dictate your behavior. Sometimes the situation won't improve immediately, but you will, and that's where transformation begins. Life doesn't promise fairness. It doesn't promise comfort. It doesn't promise ease. But it does promise opportunity. The opportunity to rise above circumstances, to grow through struggle, to strengthen your character, to build resilience, to prove to yourself what you're truly capable of. Every day gives you a choice, not control over what happens, but control over who you are in the middle of it. Some people wait for their circumstances to become perfect before they decide to show up fully. But perfection never arrives. The truth is simple. You either show up or you don't. You either take responsibility or you make excuses. You either lead your life or let life lead you. The world doesn't need perfection from you, it needs presence. It needs intention. It needs effort. It needs you to show up with your best, even if your best looks different from day to day. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you show up. And if you consistently show up with discipline, passion, humility, resilience, and purpose, life will eventually adjust to match your character. Because the strongest power you possess isn't control over circumstances, it's control over yourself. Discipline is the bridge between how you feel and what you committed to. This is the line that separates people who talk about dreams from those who actually live them. Because at some point in your life, you will realize that your feelings and your commitments rarely align. You will not always feel motivated. You will not always feel strong. You will not always feel confident. You will not always feel ready. And if you only act when you feel like it, you will never reach the places you were meant to go. That's where discipline steps in. Discipline is the force that carries you forward when your emotions try to pull you backward. It is the connection between who you are now and who you said you would become. Feelings change every day. They shift with your mood, with your energy, with the weather, with people's opinions, with circumstances you can't control. One moment you're inspired, the next moment you're drained. One moment you're hopeful, the next moment you're doubting everything. That's the danger of letting feelings drive your decisions. They're inconsistent, they're unreliable, they're influenced by everything around you. But your commitments, your purpose, your goals, your vision, those things don't change unless you abandon them. They remain steady. And it's discipline that keeps you aligned with them. Discipline means showing up on the days when excuses come easier than effort. It means doing the work even when you'd rather sit in comfort. It means pushing through resistance, not because it feels good, but because you understand the price of not pushing. Discipline is the silent force that keeps you from giving up when your emotions beg you to stop. It's the ability to say, I don't feel like it right now, but I'm doing it anyway. It's acting from commitment instead of impulse. It's staying loyal to your future, even when your present tries to tempt you away. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful had moments when they didn't feel like trying. They had moments when they wanted to break down, walk away, or escape the pressure. But what separated them from the rest wasn't talent or luck, it was discipline. The discipline to practice when nobody was watching. The discipline to sacrifice when nobody understood. The discipline to continue when nobody believed. They built a bridge with discipline and crossed it regardless of how they felt. Discipline also protects you from your own emotional storms. When you have a strong system of discipline, you don't let a bad mood ruin a good opportunity. You don't let frustration control your actions. You don't let fear make your decisions. You don't let temporary feelings destroy something permanent. Discipline gives you structure when your emotions create chaos. It gives you direction when your feelings try to confuse you. It gives you consistency when your mood is inconsistent. It gives you identity when your feelings try to rewrite who you are. People often misinterpret discipline as restriction, but in reality, discipline is freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom from emotional impulsiveness, freedom from the cycle of starting and quitting, freedom from wasted potential. Discipline frees you from the version of yourself that chooses comfort over growth. It frees you to become the version of yourself that honors commitments over feelings. It frees you to live intentionally instead of accidentally. There will be days when discipline feels heavy, when everything inside you wants to delay, postpone, avoid, or escape. But those are the days that shape you. Those are the days that define you. Because discipline is not built in easy moments. It's built in the hard ones. Every time you show up despite the resistance, you strengthen the bridge. Every time you honor your commitment instead of your mood, you reinforce the foundation. Every time you choose purpose over pleasure, you expand your capacity. And eventually, discipline becomes more natural than excuses. It becomes who you are, not something you do. Without discipline, feelings will always win. And feelings rarely lead you to greatness. Without discipline, you'll keep starting over. You'll keep promising yourself change without ever seeing it. You'll keep dreaming without doing. You'll keep wanting without working. But with discipline, your life becomes intentional, predictable, consistent, effective. You stop letting emotional waves toss you around and start steering your life toward what you committed to. Discipline doesn't care how you feel in the moment. It cares who you said you would be long term. It cares about the dream you're building, not the mood you're in. It cares about the person you're becoming, not the excuses you're making. Discipline is the bridge, and if you build it strong enough, it will carry you from emotion to execution, from intention to action, from desire to achievement, and from who you are to the future you promised yourself.